Hey everyone! Welcome to The Young and the Restless. I'm Jane, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Young and the Restless, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in. What if everything you thought was healed, everything you thought was settled, suddenly shattered in an instant? Imagine being in a place where you're finally starting to trust someone again after years of fighting, only to have one night, one mistake, ruin everything. That's exactly what happened between Sharon and Phyllis, two women who fought for the same man. Nick, the one constant in their chaos, came between them yet again, tearing apart a friendship that took years to build. Could passion destroy everything, or was this betrayal the breaking point for good? Keep watching to find out what really happened, because this story is far from over. This intro gives a strong hook by hinting at betrayal, conflict, and emotional drama, drawing the audience in to keep watching. Nick ruins everything. One night stand sinks Phyllis and Sharon's friendship. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, sitting on the edge of a French train cabin with Phyllis Summers, of all people, reflecting on our shared history. Funny how life works out. If you'd told me a year ago that Sharon, Newman, and I would ever be on the same page, I'd have laughed in your face. Sharon and I had never been anything but enemies, especially when it came to Nick. But here we were, two women who had fought for his love, and now, we were friends? I don't know what to call it. It wasn't friendship in the traditional sense. It was more like mutual respect forged in the flames of our shared pain. But then, that's how life works in Genoa City, nothing is ever simple. Phyllis and Sharon, two women who had torn each other apart over the same man for years, sitting side by side, talking about feelings? It was surreal. A little too surreal for my liking. But it was a step forward, I guess. A step forward into something I never saw coming, an unspoken understanding. But, as always, Nick had to ruin it. It seems like his shadow is always cast over everything. His presence, his decisions, his past mistakes, nothing seems to stay buried. Every time I thought Sharon and I had made progress, every time I convinced myself that we could actually coexist without the constant reminders of Nick and the wreckage he left in his wake, something would come up. Something would happen, and just like that, our fragile peace would shatter. It's strange how a friendship can bloom from the unlikeliest of places. Sharon and I had been through so much together, from almost dying in that inferno to surviving the chaos that ensued afterward. We had shared moments of silence, moments of laughter, and even moments of raw vulnerability. I remember the day we finally talked about everything, about Nick, about the past, and about all the ways he had hurt both of us. I'd always known Sharon was strong. I'd always known she was capable of holding her own, but in that moment, when she looked at me, I saw something different. I saw a woman who had been hurt, who had been betrayed, not just by Nick, but by the world, by people she trusted. I could relate to that. We both could. But then there was Nick. It seemed like every time we tried to move on, he'd pop up either in person or in our memories, and ruin everything. And this time? Well, this time, it felt like he might do more than ruin a friendship. He might tear it apart completely. It started off innocently enough, I suppose. We were in Nice, soaking up the warmth of the French sun, trying to forget about all the drama back home in Genoa City. Nick was there with us. I wasn't sure what he was trying to prove by showing up in France of all places. I thought maybe he'd grown up, maybe he'd finally figured out who he was and what he wanted. But I was wrong. He was still the same old Nick. And Sharon? She was still the same old Sharon. Trying to be the peacemaker, trying to be the one who always tried to keep the balance, even when it was clear that balance was long gone. It was that night. That one night that changed everything. We'd all gone out for dinner. The mood was light, and for the first time in a long time, it felt like we were actually having a good time. There was no tension, no fights, just the three of us enjoying the beautiful French scenery and the cool evening air. But somehow, it felt too perfect. Nothing good ever lasts in my life, and I should have known better. I should have known that a night of peace and calm would be the calm before the storm. We were standing by the water, watching the boats sail past. It was beautiful, almost magical, and I thought, for just a moment, that maybe Nick and I could get back to a place of understanding. But that's the thing about Nick, he never truly lets anyone in. He kept his distance, and I could tell Sharon noticed. She had that look in her eyes, that look of someone who wanted more. She still had feelings for him. And that was the moment everything went south. I'll never forget the way she looked at him when he turned to walk away. It was like something inside of her snapped, like she couldn't keep pretending she was okay with just being friends. Maybe I had been there too, maybe I had been that woman who thought I could just keep going, pretending that everything was fine. But Sharon was different. She was so much better at hiding her emotions than I was. But in that moment, it was clear that her feelings were far from resolved. Nick, of course, was oblivious. He never saw the signs. He never understood that Sharon was still in love with him, that she had never truly moved on. And I realized in that moment that maybe Sharon wasn't the only one who was still holding on. Maybe I was too. The next thing I knew, Nick and Phyllis had disappeared. The only thing that remained was the lingering sense that something had happened between them, something that wasn't supposed to happen. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to think about it. But deep down, I knew. I knew that Nick and Phyllis had crossed a line. I don't know if it was a one-night stand, or just a moment of weakness, but whatever it was, it felt like the end. When Sharon found out, I saw the anger in her eyes. But it wasn't just anger, it was heartbreak. It was everything she had ever felt for Nick, everything that had been shattered the moment she learned that he had betrayed her again. And it wasn't just about the affair. It was about everything that had happened between them, all the years of hurt and mistrust. Nick had ruined everything again. The fallout was immediate. Sharon and I fought. Not physically, but emotionally. Words were said that could never be taken back. Old wounds were reopened, and just like that, the fragile friendship we had built was gone. I don't think I'll ever forget the look on Sharon's face as she left, the look of someone who had given up on hope, on forgiveness, on everything she once believed in. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to reach out, to apologize, to tell her that I never wanted this to happen. But the other part of me, the part that had been hurt so many times before, wanted to retreat, to build walls around myself and never let anyone in again. I wasn't sure if I could forgive Nick this time. I wasn't sure if I could forgive myself for letting it all happen. Days turned into weeks, and the tension in the air was palpable. Sharon and I didn't speak. Nick and I, well, we hardly spoke either. He was distant, as if he was trying to process everything, but I wasn't sure he understood the gravity of what had happened. He had broken something that was never going to be the same again. And then, one day, Sharon and I ran into each other at the coffee shop. It wasn't planned. It wasn't even expected. But there we were, standing face to face. I could see the hurt in her eyes, the same hurt I felt. And for the first time, I realized that maybe, just maybe, we both needed to hear each other's pain. "Phyllis," Sharon said softly, her voice raw, "I don't know how to move on from this. I don't know if I ever will." I didn't have an answer for her. I didn't know how to fix what Nick had broken. All I knew was that, somehow, we had to find a way to heal, even if that meant moving forward without him. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories like this.